Hi, everybody. I'm Rick DiClemente. This is Star Self and Astrology Unplugged. Welcome to the show tonight, 396. So we're sneaking up on 400. Good to have you with us, and had a good week last week, and I've preloaded all the people into this folder for tonight, and I think I missed a couple, so I'll go back and get them later on. Tonight's topics is angular planets. Angular planets. And what that means is I'm going to be looking through your charts, especially for planets where you were born with planets near the angles. The angles, once again, are these. Let's see here. Oops.
You can just look at the graphic behind me of the zodiac. The rising.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're recording again. Sorry for the pause. I have to pause because I have to get everybody loaded on my screen on my desktop, and that's not always simple. Anyhow, tonight I want to point out something to you that when I was married, let me see if I get this loaded here. Yeah, I'm using this chart to show you an example of the four angles. We use that term easily, but you may not be used to it. The four angles are the ascendant and the descendant. This is the rising sign. This is the opposite or the descendant. And perpendicular to those two are the midheaven, not the midhaven, the midheaven. The midheaven opposite the nadir. That means the top, that means the bottom. This means what's ascending. So when you were born, and astrology got it backwards for whatever reason, this is not the west. This is the east in astrology chart. That's the north, that's the south, this is the west. This is the east. Now, when you were born, if somebody would have jumped up and pointed to the eastern horizon, the eastern horizon where the sun rises, that's the rising sign. Whatever sign was there is the rising sign, also known as the ascendant. Tonight, we're going to be talking about people born with planets in their natal chart near here, near here, near here, near here. Now, it's a big deal. I know that many of you still look at a chart and it looks like a chart of mumbo jumbo because it is hard to understand at first. But this is one reason I'm teaching this tonight is to show you how important it is to read planets that are near your four angles. Okay? Really, really important. Okay, for instance, in this chart,
Okay.
now let's see here. I gotta get this. Okay, when I was married for 20 years, my first marriage, first and only marriage, I was married to a woman named Anne, and she was very much a Capricorn, and she had a moon in Virgo. We were married for 20 years. Now let me get this on your chart. Okay. Now in her chart, there's no reason to do her chart. In her chart, her moon was right here in this area. Her moon was in the sign of Virgo. Virgo was in this area, and the moon was right there. And for many years, I mean, I trained her as an astrologer as I was learning, and that was a long time ago, so she has a lot of knowledge. Um, but for a long, long time, I treated her very much as if her moon was in Virgo, which it is. But what I learned later on, much maybe 40 years later, I learned what's important is not that the moon is in Virgo. What's important is the moon is rising. That's what's important. So I kept looking at her Virgo qualities. And yes, she was picky. And yes, she kept everything real clean. And yes, she was really hardworking. And yes, she was very durable. And all the things you think of when you think of Virgo. So many years went by, and I kept thinking of her as Moon in Virgo. And then one day, all of a sudden, it flashed on me, and I finally saw that, that what's important is not that her moon is in Virgo, it's that her moon is rising or setting in this case. The moon is angular. The moon is on the angle. It's not out here. 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 It's on one of the angles. And the closer to the angle, the more important it is. And that's when I learned that what was important about her is that she was lunar. She was lunar. And all of a sudden, all these pieces to the pie all started filling in together. I kept seeing why she was so traditional and why she was so sensitive and why she liked little kids and why she was very good teaching piano to little kids, little children. She was very Cancerian. You got to get this through your mind. She's not really Cancerian. She's lunar. She's like the planet instead of a sign. Now, I know it's confusing in beginning astrology. What the hell is like a planet and what's like a sign? Because they're very similar. The moon and Cancer are very similar. Mars and Aries are very similar, but one's a planet, one's a sign. But when you have a planet near one of the angles, draw it real big in your chart. Draw real big. And once I started to see her as very lunar or Cancerian, everything started to fit. I could see why she was so traditional with her family heritage and with her family traditions, extremely traditional. And I used to think some of that was the Capricorn in her. Nah, it was all because of the moon. Now you'll see it tonight as I go through different people. I'm really welcoming Christine. I'm glad to have her with us tonight. I do not have your chart loaded, so I will take a moment to pick that chart up because I know I do have it. Okay, now to point out in Christine's chart as an example, I have not looked at anybody's chart before just now. There we go. Now, I will point out to you, not everybody has angular planets. Now, if you do not have a planet that is near the midheaven, near the ascendant, near the nadir, near the descendant, it's no big deal. So don't go worrying about your chart if you don't have an angular planet. It's not so much important if you don't have one. Rather, it's more important if you do have one. And we can see in Christine's case that she is a Pisces, and look what she's got rising. Neptune. Okay. Let me get her up on my screen. Okay. Yeah, look what she's got on her chart rising. She's got Uranus right on the midheaven. This makes her very Uranian. When you are very Uranian, it makes you very Aquarian-like. When you are very Neptunian, you are very Piscean-like. And she's already a Pisces. And her moon is in Aquarius. So she's got some very important, she has four very important angular planets here: the moon, the Mercury, the Uranus, and especially the Neptune. Okay, now, if she were not a Pisces and I were looking in her chart for sensitivity, some people's charts, because of their sun sign proclivities, you have to find sensitivity in other places. Some people are so sensitive, you have to find insensitivity in other places. So it's always a mixture of what you need to find. Now, in Christine's case, she's too much Pisces. She's too Neptunian, which means she's trying to save every turtle that walks down her sidewalk. She's trying to save every kitty cat. We know each other very well through Facebook, and she and I are both the same. We're always trying to save animals. And if you ever knew Christine, you'd see the master at this. She just puts a tremendous focus on her love and compassion for animals. Now, this is not because she's Pisces. That Pisces really helps a lot, but she's Pisces plus a Neptune rising. Okay? So you are a lot like a planet on the angle. She's very Uranian at the top of her chart. She may not even have that many planets in Aquarius. Find out what she does have the moon there. But because she's so Uranian, she becomes very Aquarian. So this is how you pick up these natures and proclivities. Now, in in her chart, by the way, I'm so glad you guys got my back and you know when I'm not recording because I got so many buttons and screens and trying to keep them all straight. So we see that the main things that she has is the moon and Mercury are opposite Uranus, and she's got the major Neptune rising. Okay, she's got Capricorn, Capricorn, Pisces, Pisces, Scorpio, Uranus. She has very advanced planets. Okay, when you have a lot of planets in the later signs, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, this is symbolic of a very advanced soul. Okay. And I can tell you by just knowing her that she is. Now, when you have all early planets and you don't have any late planets, it doesn't mean you're infantile. It just means you have a kind of a childlike nature to you. There's nothing wrong with that. So this is all explained very clearly in my book, The Exquisite Zodiac. So we see in her chart, and I've often talked with Liza about this, people with too much advanced planets, too much Pisces, too Aquarius, too Capricorn, they are too worried all the time about somebody else and not worried enough about themselves. And I told you in the early chapters in this book, I had to work very hard to explain my case that I was not talking about maturity and immaturity. I'm talking about early signs of the zodiac versus later signs. And we came up with two words that worked out pretty well. We came up with self-oriented. The early signs of the zodiac are self-oriented. They learn from things happening to themselves. They're primarily concerned with themselves. Doesn't mean they're selfish. They can be. On the other hand, people with a lot of planets in later signs, Aquarius, Capricorn, Sagittarius, Pisces, those people are primarily interested in other people. And if you ever watched, and I'm sure you haven't, and I watch her every day, if you watch Christine's writings on Facebook, she's concerned about everybody else. She just is. It's a lovely quality, and I'm not going to sit here in judgment of it, but this is where it comes from. And this is why people that sit with me with a lot of later signs in the zodiac, the old souls, these people sit with me and they get astrology quickly. They understand the principles quickly. They understand that we are part of it all, that we are connected to it all. They're not like the early signs of the zodiac, which are mostly, it's about me. It's very intriguing to watch how this works. And I'm very pleased to say that after 11 years, I've gotten very little flack, if any, about, well, you make it sound like it's a bunch of babies and they're immature and they're mature and they're better than us and all that. I've gotten very little of that kind of response. And I'm really, really glad because I tried very hard when writing the book to not base things in those kind of terms. But what this means for Christine, this is not a full reading for her that we're just reading tonight about the angular planets. What it means for her is she's got a natural understanding of other people. She has a natural understanding that what I do to you, I do to myself. By God, it's so hard for us to learn that lesson. We still haven't learned the lesson. The basic things that Jesus tried to teach us. And there's no way Jesus was a Capricorn born in December. Jesus was born in Pisces, period. I don't know, but I don't care what anybody says. He was extremely Piscean with the symbol of the two fish. Okay, Christine, thank you so much. I'm going to go off to Jane now and get you to unmute yourself. And let's get Jane's chart on the screen.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Now, of course, your chart's not here either. See what I was trying to do? Get them all loaded. Okay, we're looking at Jane's chart now. The Aries from down under. Okay. What are you down under? Did you ever ask that question, Jane?
It's funny that just because we're south,
Yeah, I
we're
guess
on the
so. Okay, now look at Jane sticking out like a sore thumb. Moon Chiron. Neptune is kind of angular, 1 degree 7 is 6 degrees off, so it's kind of weak. This is not angular, this is not angular, but you're very moon, you're very lunar, and you want lunar activity. This makes you very Virgoan. Even though the
ah
even though the moon and Chiron are both in Aquarius, you're going to pick up Aquarian energy. Yes, but you're going to pick up lunar energy and
hmm.
chironic activity. So you're very, because of the moon, you're very Cancerian. Okay? And I think we can all sense that. You don't have the normal Aries response um, when we talk about the Aries that's in you. You're not a me type. You do have much compassion for other people, and that's one thing we want to see. So the moon rising is a very good symbol for an Aries
Yeah.
personality because because it helps you care for others, think about others. Does this surprise you?
No, it's good. It's good, and it's interesting for me because I've grown up with an older sister who's a 9th of April, 1954 baby,
Yeah,
and
Aries.
very different, very Aries, explosive.
Is her favorite license plate? What about me?
She would hate it, but maybe she'd like it.
Well, there's a really beautiful, innocent way about that. The Aries are about what about me? And it's a very beautiful, harmless innocence they have. And most people love being around them because it's very, very innocent. And they have a sense of living in the here and now. They really live in the here and now. Why are you other people making things so complicated? It's all right here now.
Yeah.
And they've got that
Yeah.
ability. And God bless them. No, go ahead, sir.
I was just going to say that, Jane, you would be a fascinating person to go ahead and put your thoughts towards the Chiron rulership. Do you find it more Virgo or Sagittarius or somewhere else?
Okay.
Because there's a lot of debate about putting Chiron into a rulership, and regardless of which direction you come on, I can certainly see this being absolutely incredible for you to be a mentor,
Mm.
the type of person who's into fostering,
Yeah.
because
Mm.
Chiron fostered, passing down teaching, sharing wisdom, stories, success with getting yourself together, how to work with uh, healing of all sorts.
Yeah, very much so.
See, in
So
With the healing.
the other people, like he says, they're trying to assign Chiron to Sagittarius because he's got that arrow up in the air. He's the archer. But if you look at Sagittarius' nature, it just doesn't have the bite to it like Eris does. Oh, I'm sorry now. I don't want to get you confused. It doesn't have the pickiness, like the pickiness and fastidiousness that you get with Chiron being the ruler of Virgo. Now, do you find that you have Virgo traits?
I I don't know. I suppose I do like I've in the past I was in jobs that were all about organizing and getting things done on time and making sure everything was set.
Yeah.
So that's very Virgoan, isn't it?
Yeah, there's not an Aries quality. So you're definitely getting that from your Chiron planet there.
Okay.
I'm going to move on to
Thank
Claudia.
you.
You are welcome. I'll move to Claudia now. Let's get her chart up and running here. Oh, the cat's bugging me. Yep, here goes. Boy, she knows the clock. Let me get this taken care of. About 20 minutes till 9, she'll start.
recording has happened.
Okay, we're going to skip over Claudia. Thank you for telling me that because she does not have angular planets. They're just not close enough. So we'll go right to Eric. Thank you, Claudia. We'll go right to Erica. Okay, Erica now. Nothing there, nothing there. And we go back to here.
I just had the solar return on my ascendant and my Neptune there.
Okay, so you're half a year older. Okay, here's Erica's chart. And of course, Erica is, you can all hear me, right?
Yes.
Of course, Erica is a Taurus. She's got Neptune rising by a degree and a half. So this is very powerful. And it's in a very non-Neptunian sign of Libra. So you want this with a Taurus. You want earth signs to pick up sentiment, emotionality from other parts of the chart, whether it's Capricorn or Taurus or Virgo. These are the three signs that lack enough emotion in general. And you see with her, it's not true at all because she picks up tremendous amount of emotionality because of the Neptune rising. And this makes her very Neptunian. To get it straight, Erica, it makes you very Neptunian, which means you're very Piscean. So, one of the things we do, one of the things you have done in this class, is you've mixed what is a mixture between a Taurus and a Pisces. What's in common between those two? What's different between those two? We end up talking a lot about that, and that's exactly the way you should. We have nothing near the midheaven, nothing near the nadir. Now at the descendant, you got to zoom in close and not get fooled, because the descendant is 7 degrees. So you're very Arisian. As a matter of fact, you're very Eris opposite Neptune. You're very opposite Neptune. Eris opposite Neptune. This makes you a spiritual fighter. I would not even bother with looking at the rest of your chart after I look at this. This is the most major thing in your chart because it goes right across the ascendant. Neptune, Eris. And Eris is very much a fighter, especially for unjustness. And when Neptune is there fighting for the underdog, boy, that's just you all over. True or false?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I ask you bluntly, is that a Taurus quality? No, it's not a Taurus quality. It can be with the help of other things, but you are very much outer planets, outer planets. You don't see Tauruses in this class. You don't see many Aries in this class. You hardly ever see Libras in this class. People have to have outer planet energy to end up in this class, primarily Neptune energy. And this is what we saw in earlier readings, and we see it in your chart. So we see a lot of compassion for the other. Venus is at 4, so Venus is kind of angular. So you got kind of a Libra quality to you, beside the fact that Libra is rising. You got a Mars quality that's 5 degrees away. This gives you an Ariesness, but it'd be very hard for you to notice any of your Ariesness because you got 4 planets there. But we see very clearly the big deal in your chart is Eris is opposite Neptune, and it comes from being angular.
That's right. People should put up with no nonsense, is my opinion. Thank you, Rick. Fight for
Hey.
yourself. Fight for justice.
If you're idling or
Don't give up.
if you're idling along the zodiac, don't idle too much along Erica's chart. Thank you very much, dear. Let's get Rick Kempe in here. I don't know if I got your chart loaded. It disappeared on me again. Okay, Rick Kempe, here you are. All right. So we noticed with Rick, and we've talked about this before, Rick's similar to me in the fact that the sun is rising. The sun has just risen. The planets move. The zodiac moves about 2 minutes of zodiac time per minute of clock time. So we can see that just about 2 minutes ago, the sun has just risen in his chart. just about 2 minutes ago, the sun was shining right there and rising. And as it goes on, the next 2 hours it's going to go through the 12th house. And in about 6 hours, it will be near the top or noon. So we still see that Neptune is not angular, even though Neptune is very strongly squaring the ascendant. Okay. So Neptune's having a big impact because of that, but because of angularity, it makes him not very Leonine. He's already a Leo. It makes him very solar. He's very solar. And I think you can all see the point here that whenever you see Rick, he's got a smile on his face most of the time. He's got a kind of a roundishness to his face, which is very telltale for Leo people or Leonine, but he's very solar. So this tells you that when you bring out the solar qualities, which is already his ruling planet, that he's very creative. He wants to express himself. And if you've ever seen his website or his advertisements, he's not shy. He comes right out, shows you who he is. True, Rick.
Absolutely. Yeah. And as far as that sun on the ascendant with the positive expression of Leo, it's not necessarily going to show up in Capricorn the way it is for you, but for me,
That's right. That's right.
I am a more positive, upbeat person. With Saturn being your ruling planet, you would be more stable or serious.
Yeah, but we're both very solar,
Yes,
as we both have the sun near the ascendant.
I can even move towards being compulsively happy in a way that it makes it tricky to go ahead and process what upsets me because I put it away. I shine such a bright light on it, I put it away. You know.
That's a very nice thing to have.
Oh, not totally all the time on the inside.
Well, I understand that
Yeah.
with anything, but
Yeah.
to be solar, I mean, fixed fire means that when you're upbeat, no one's going to talk you out of it.
And that part is good because a lot of people have broken ideas. You don't need that interfering with your mind.
Okay, well, very good. Now you see one of the reasons we see how Christine was Pisces, and she'd get a lot more Pisces because of the Neptune. He's a Leo, and he's a lot more Leonine because of his solar imprint from the sun rising.
Right.
Okay, let's hold it right there, and we'll go on and get Peggy. Okay, Miss Peggy. Okay, this is an interesting chart. Here's Peggy's Virgo chart. Now, even though Peggy has a bunch of Leo in her, that's not the issue here. Anything on the midheaven 27? No, but Mars is not far away. Mars is about 3 degrees away. By the way, if you don't know this, the planets with the angles are different than planets in the signs. People always say, I'm born on the cusp. I'm born on the cusp. The reason they're born on the cusp is because the newspaper tells them that it's this date. Nobody's born on a cusp because there is no cusp between signs. You're one sign or you're the other. That comes down to the second you were born. You're one sign or you're the other. However, cusps on houses are different. That's what we're looking at when we look at the midheaven, the nadir, the descendant. Those are house cusps. So we see that Peggy does pick up some Martian energies just because of Mars and Leo being close. Nothing close here, nothing close here, nothing close here. So your most angular planet is Mars. Now, I really like that a lot because one of the real problems, and I've been learning this so much, one of the real problems with Virgos is they don't have enough Mars. I've never even said that before. They're so programmed to do what's right, what they ought to do. They don't have the Mars. Hey, I'm going to go do what I want to do. Hey, I'm going to go do what I want to do. That's like a mortal sin to a Virgo. It's really a big deal to Virgos to say something like that. So the fact that your Mars is pretty strong and is very bold in a sign like Leo, which means I'm going to do it and I'm going to let my light shine. We see just how strong your Virgo is, that it manages to sit atop all these Leonine energies. But I really like having that Mars. Because of it, you can let go a lot faster than perhaps other Virgos would. Some Virgos, I get them in their 60s and their 70s before they start to learn to let go. It's just such an amazingly powerful sign in terms of being glued to its nature. Now, what do you think about the Aries, Peggy?
Well, with the Mars in my life, I'm a very good shot with a gun. I enjoy it. And I play music and I'm in a group. My whole life I've been exposed to excellent musicians, not somebody who can't play. And it's always been a challenge to me to get better and to get better
That's
because they
great.
wanted
That's
me
great.
to, yeah. And just I've always been like a kid. I've always done what I wanted. All my young life, I traveled and went on vacation and had a lot of fun and met all kind of people. And I don't feel like I was a squished up Virgo. I really do believe I would go by myself to an event and I would
Well,
show up.
that's
It's
really
like,
great, great news. I
yeah.
like that, Claudia, a squished up Virgo.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I was
Try,
always bold
try
and I was
writing a
always
book. Try writing a
not
book.
afraid.
Try writing a book with that title. Hi, are you a squished up Virgo? No, I'm not. Well, I'm really glad to
Yeah.
see that in your case. And I'm telling you, folks, that the closer this is, the bigger the deal it is. If that Mars were closer or on the other side, on the 10th house side of that line, it would be even stronger.
I have to say, there's also quite a characteristic from Pluto being right there with Mars, because
Mhm.
um, I might want you at my back instead of another guy, but in a barroom fight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
you got that,
I don't
you
back
got that
down.
right.
I'm right there with you. I'm your wingman.
In other words, everybody, she's not all sweetness and roses. Okay? She's not. Poke her a couple times too much and you're going to find out. She's got a tough skin. Well, that's very good that you point that out. Thank you, Rick. Okay, what I'm trying to do to help you tonight is to help you get an edge on your own chart and an edge on other charts when you see. And I'm telling you, this I was taught by Arroyo many years ago. When you see an angular planet, draw it this big on the chart. It's a big deal. Big deal. Okay? My sun is right there. My Uranus is right there. So I'm very solar and I'm very Aquarian, there's no doubt. Okay, thank you. Now,
Thank you.
did we do Linda? Okay, thank you very much. I'm just going across my line because I can't remember who I did. Hold on. I'm a coming. Plus, the resume recording button is right next to the stop recording button.
I know.
It's a pain in the butt. I've done that. I shut my show off once. Not too bad in 400 tries. Okay, let's go back to Linda here. Okay. This goes down. Get this opened up. We're recording, and here's Linda S. Okay. Now, Linda, I know you've been astrologer for a long time, so none of this is going to surprise you. We see a very powerful heiress. This
Yes.
is why I'm telling you, this is why I'm astounded that people still aren't looking at heirs. The main reason is look at people natally and put their heirs on the natal chart. And you'll see this revolutionary fight for the underdog quality. And it's Arisian, and that's what's going on in the world now. Eris is what's going on. Okay, you got Eris angular, you got Neptune 3 degrees away. Even the sun is 6 degrees away, but Neptune's very, very strong. Mars is 20, so 21, so it's about 5 degrees away. So the Mars is angular in Gemini, the Neptune is angular, and so is the Eris. But there's nothing in your chart as strong as the Eris.
No.
Eris is really powerful. Now let's go back and look at the keywords of Eris. Fighting for the unfair, fighting for the non-included, fighting for what's right, fighting to bring down people who got to the top unfairly. This just drives them crazy. Does that make sense with you?
Totally.
And you're
Women's rights too.
but what's that?
Women's rights.
Oh, women's rights is exactly right.
Huge.
Yes. Okay, very good.
I have a question since she has Eris there, though. With that opposition to the Neptune Venus conjunction, have you ever used your art to illuminate disparity with marginalized people to show these issues need looked at?
I don't know. I mean, yes, I think in my work on a one-to-one I do.
So
And
inequality, I would say, would be the key there. Yeah.
yeah, totally. Yeah. And definitely doing a kind of unique, I have a unique kind of artistic thing. I'm like a naive, primitive artist or something, kind of different, you know. So in that sense. But yeah, I know that I use Eris a lot with the people I work with because I do trauma recovery. So
Oh, so you are actually artistically getting them to express themselves,
yeah.
to find their identity.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
See, a lot of this is Eris, and you might have thought it was Scorpio.
Right, because I'm a Scorpio.
But that Venus Neptune conjunction is known to be highly creative and expressive.
Yeah.
And romantic.
I'm romantic. And I think I'm very Piscean too, with the Neptune there.
Well,
I
you
mean,
got a lot of good qualities from this. But the thing is, I would find that sitting with you and a what do you call it? People who can sense the past, like
yeah.
our friends coming up on the show, 400, Deneen, who deals with past lives and our ancestry, etc.
Oh,
I would
yeah.
think
Oh,
you've got
yeah.
a tremendous
Oh,
interest
yeah.
in that ancestry.
In shamanism.
Shaman, that's
Yeah.
the word I was looking
Oh,
for.
yeah, totally. Yes. Lots. I've done lots with shamanism.
That's
What
wonderful for the shadow work.
Yeah.
what does the shaman mean to you? Because Scorpio is so similar, really.
Yeah, it's, well, of course,
Scorpio is the shaman.
yeah, ceremonial shamanism has a kind of, ceremonial, but shamanism to me is like the spirituality of earth-based, all earth-based religions, earth-based spirituality. I mean, it's the one that's really connected to the earth, the elements, the ancestors, the spirit world, the trees, the everything. I'm not saying I'm proficient in all that. I'm not. But I think that's what shamanism is to me. So I have moments of that. And I do what I call soul recovery, not retrieval, because I'm not a full-fledged shaman, but I do soul recovery, which means I take somebody back. We go together and I guide them to bring their soul part back.
That they lost during some trauma.
Yes, yes, yes.
I would also think that I've noticed this, perhaps Rick has too. A lot of people are afraid of themselves. A
Oh,
lot
yeah,
of people are afraid, they're afraid to look under the bed.
right.
And I don't think you are.
No,
You look under there, hey, who's down there?
that's true. Yeah.
Because Scorpio is it's a ballsy sign.
There's a lot of people who are afraid of their own anger.
Yeah.
They are afraid that once they open up to it, it will overcome them because they have little experience expressing it with control.
And they
Right.
feel that they're going to ride over top of somebody. They're afraid of,
Yeah, they're afraid they'll hurt someone.
yeah, that's common.
And feel guilty afterwards.
Yeah, right.
What, when did you, what age were you when you found your power?
Oh my gosh, I really don't know. I think that's a process that goes on, and it's different kinds of power. I know I felt it as a child in many ways. I know I felt it very early as a child, but it kind of comes and it goes, but it's in the memory bank. Just making mud balls, by myself somewhere, that was empowering. That goes with the
Well,
creative,
that's with the shamanism too.
right? Yeah,
Hey,
I
Linda,
remember it.
what you do
Yeah,
with those,
well,
what you
what
do
was
with
I
those mud
doing?
balls?
Huh?
What you do with those mud balls?
I was just making them. I don't know. I don't know. The thing was I was alone and I was across the
Oh,
street and I was
alone
very
and making
little.
mud balls. I'm taking a wide turn around your house.
Yeah, and I used to run away when I was 3. I used to run down somewhere. There was a gully and lots of trees and everything, and my parents were very scared. So my mother started watching me, and she followed me and found where I went, and it was like a full block away in back of houses. And I went there to be alone in nature. So that's pretty shamanic for a 3 or 4 year old. I was 3 or
That's
4.
very Neptunian too.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
And you were collecting mud balls for some reason.
yeah, I guess.
I'd love to have a conversation with you about the shamanic asteroid of Caraclo.
Yeah, well, I might want to get a reading from you. I was very fascinated by what you said and the healing that can occur through the asteroid reading. I think that's very, very fascinating. So
All right, well, thank you. I'm going to move on.
thank you, Rick.
You're welcome. Move on to John now. Mr. John, Dr. John,
Hey, Rick.
please. I'm hitting all the right buttons. And we'll go to John's chart. Okay, John. Okay, right away we see there's nothing angular, nothing midheaven, nothing ascendant, nothing nadir, nothing descendant. Your moon is the most angular, and it's 9 degrees away. So that's really kind of far. Um, I I will have to do research on this and keep my eye on it. Do I want to consider this Pluto angular just because it squares the ascendant? I know that's extremely important. In my hunch, it's so important I would consider this an angular planet.
I
just
think it does
because
have an impact.
it's making almost an exact impact. So this makes you scorpionic. So how do you feel? How do you feel Plutonian?
I think I do feel. I mean, it's something that's come through. I think in my eyes, like I mean, it's ascendant. It's kind of how like a window into like my psyche, both how I show up, but also like people's first impressions of me. I think I do have a bit of a Plutonian gaze. I don't know if I just got that from staring at my sister and getting stared at back. She's a Scorpio rising, so I think we had some good practice with each other. But I think I do have the ability to go deep, on some level though, and I really feel like Pluto plays a role in that on multiple levels.
It's not a Taurus thing.
Yeah, definitely not. I mean, also like keep in mind, as you pointed out too, Rick. Like I have Pluto opposite my Mercury, which is also square my ascendant, and also Eris, which is also square my ascendant. So
That's a big deal. Yep. Now you found we've talked about this before, but this Pluto, Mercury, Eris ascendant is the main part of your chart. What does this
It,
act what and it T squares over to the moon. But what does this axis mean to you?
I think, and Rick, I think you wanted to say something too, Rick C.
oh, I wanted to bring attention to the idea that Mercury is your 12th house ruler of confinement, institutions, prisons,
Huh.
and being conjoined Eris in the house of the profession
And
makes a lot
he's
of
going to
sense.
work at a prison?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
All
the
right.
educational side of things, but yeah,
Yeah, well, Mercury is also educational, as well as the god of the psychopomp to take souls through their underworld journey. So you can help navigate them through the underworld so they can transform with the energy of Pluto. Pluto being a part of your fourth house is part of your psyche.
Hmm.
So you can help people transform.
I feel like I am getting closer to that work on multiple levels. Like, and I've had an extensive, I mean, it's funny to say, like, in 20 years, I've had an extensive career in education, but I have, and I think all of it has been this journey of getting closer to this way of bringing transformation into that. I mean, I don't know if it's actually
Mm-hmm.
a school principal or a teacher, but on some level, I have this deepening passion around working with people to help them, like, bring the kinds of supports in that will help them transform, whether it's like literally finding a new career, working through the challenges that maybe got them into prison, or doing some deep emotional work and
Did you
really.
ever consider going into hypnosis?
I have not, Rick, and that's interesting. I have a friend who does that work. Maybe that is something I should investigate.
Okay, John. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Rick. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Rix. Okay, we'll move along here. We come we come back and go to Susan, who's just about loaded here. Okay, Susan, we're going to look at yours, and it does not look like there are a lot involved.
Not really.
Nothing's really angular,
Nope.
but I would strongly consider. This is interesting to me. Once again, you and I are talking about Saturn Venus. These Saturn Venus both are square to that ascendant.
Yes.
So I think once again we see you in the leadership role in the educational environment. I think that without these two planets and with this sun in Sag and moon in Gemini, I think you would be a lot more flighty without these two. I think they really give you a lot of anchoring.
Well, that's kind of scary. The idea that I could be more flighty than I am.
Yeah, but you're flighty enough just to keep balanced with this. You're pretty balanced with that Saturn and Venus, I think.
I try,
Yeah, I think so.
but I kind of feel really done with teaching. It does not appeal to me anymore.
I don't blame you. So you're really not that angular.
Nope.
Thank you. Thank you today.
Thank you.
Now we go on to Kathy F. Now, here's her chart. Intriguing, Kathy, that the most angular planet clearly is the Mars. How do you feel about so we got two Virgos who most in both the Virgo cases, their most angular planet was their Mars.
Hmm.
So you're very Martian. Martian. How do you feel your Ariesness?
How do I feel my what?
Your Ariesness.
I don't know what that means.
Aries. Mars rules Aries. Ariesness. Like the sign Aries.
Assertive.
Oh,
Yeah.
assertiveness.
Getting things started.
Well, I'm good at getting things started. I'm not always good with following through on that. And I tend to allow people to talk me out of things.
Libra gives in.
Yeah, the Libra gives in. Even the Mars in Libra gives in.
Yeah. Mhm.
Sometimes I even talk myself out of things and not others, but I talk myself out of things.
I think a lot of that can also be the Venus in Cancer. Venus in Cancer is tentative and wondering, is this going to get me in trouble? Am I going to get in any trouble? Is there going to
Yeah.
be any harm here? So at least you have the Mars angular, and I think that does help. But we do see in your chart there's not a lot of angularity. And I do think that in general, the people that are most angular are the ones that dominate a meeting.
What?
They dominate the meeting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They just dominate through no intent of their own. It's just they're just lead the natural leaders of the zodiac.
Yeah.
Well, we're starting to see a real good example of all this. Let me move on now.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
It looks
I
like
don't see
Marty.
Marty anymore.
Okay,
Yeah, we
now,
lost Marty.
now that we're back resumed recording, any general talk from any of you got to say about what you learned tonight about angularity? Yeah, Linda.
Powerful. So I have two things to say. The heiress that you've pointed out to me being dominant there helps me understand why I always felt like a misfit, like I was never, like I was an outsider.
You
I
are
always
Miss
felt like an
Harris.
outsider.
You
And
are Miss
I was
Harris.
trying to belong and never, I mean, I have friends, so I belong, but you know what I mean? It's like, anyway. And the
But
other
the
thing,
larger group leaves you
yeah,
out.
the larger group, yeah. But anyways, the other thing is I didn't see anybody with Pluto on the ascendant, and the man I married when I was young I found out long after he died. In fact, I only found out in the past 5 years, got his birth time. He had Pluto right on his ascendant, and Mars is pretty close too. Those people do often, I think, die young. Not they don't have to, but that can happen. But I have always wondered why, there was so incredible. It was like a storybook romance, totally one enchanted evening and boom, we're off to the show. And that was great. But at some point, something was going on in me and I had to leave. I just had to get away. And when I hear you talk about these angles, I realized it was that Pluto on his ascendant.
There's too much power in your relationship.
Mhm.
I know I felt
Yeah.
kidnapped. even though he
Well,
was a very nice
well,
person.
there's a constant fear of thing blowing up.
Absolutely.
Well, you may have
Absolutely.
connected with the Persephone role.
Absolutely. I felt like I was kidnapped.
Right.
And it wasn't that I didn't love him or didn't want to be with him, but I still needed some kind of space or something, apparently.
Well, the Pluto provides an incredible intensity in
Yeah,
in
we
an
were
intimate
friends.
relationship,
Yeah.
and
Go ahead.
that intensity is charming and attractive, but terrifying.
It's powerful. Arroyo tells us in his early books about when you have Pluto very strong in the composite charts, or when you have it in the midpoint charts, um, you you are drawn together, and you can't get away from each other.
Right. Yeah.
And there's a fear to that, and there's a real appeal to that.
Right.
Because here's the problem with Pluto. Pluto wants to eat the other one.
Mhm.
It wants to devour. It wants to devour the other. This becomes a very big problem with Scorpios that you read for. Most Scorpio people cannot tame this in themselves. They have a desire to devour the other. I'm going to win you when the morning comes. Here's Neil Young singing this little lighthearted song in the 70s. When the morning come, I'm going to get you when the morning comes.
Oh yeah.
And there's nothing lighthearted at all about it.
Yeah, when the mood
He's,
is right.
he's talking about gobbling him up. Yeah. Claudia,
Right.
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say my Pluto, his ascendant was Leo with Pluto right there. And my Pluto was only 5 degrees away, conjunct his Chiron. So
Yeah.
we had this
Yeah.
Pluto Chiron, and then my Jupiter was in Leo, but later. So there's a lot of Leo, Pluto, and Chiron, like when you say blow up, I mean, you have two of those plus Chiron. So it must have been a very healing relationship in some ways. Well, it certainly was I didn't even know I was a creative until I was in that relationship.
When Pluto comes into your life and you start a relationship, you need to look to your left and right and up and down and all around because things are happening when Pluto brings you a person. And it can be really good, it can be really bad, it can really be both.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, it was
But it's
basically good.
very,
It wasn't
very,
dangerous.
it's very symbolic that it's a very important relationship.
Yeah, yeah. So I learned that tonight. I mean, I really appreciated this class because I have wondered so much, like, why did I have to get away? Who wouldn't want to be a faculty wife and everything was free? I was on my way to a PhD, and all free back then, if you were a
Are
faculty
you
wife.
saying you left because it was too intense?
I have no idea. Well, no, there's more to it than that, of things that are like trying to happen. So there's many reasons, but I'm just saying, like, I didn't like try to work it out. I didn't do any. I just it was like I was just catapulted
Oh, really?
to another world. Yeah.
Catapulted out of the relationship?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Isn't
Yeah.
that intriguing?
That's what it felt like. So it's like it's very interesting. I'm writing a lot about it. So hearing you talk about these angles has
Well,
been
did you read the
exciting.
Ayers book?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
Oh,
And
that's
I'm kind of rereading it here and
that's a
there.
powerhouse, that book.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, because I didn't realize I had it that strong. I mean,
Of this whole group, you and I have it the strongest.
yeah.
Because mine is connected to Jupiter, same degree. Jupiter Eris, same degree in the second house.
Yeah.
So that's when I get excited. I get boom, boom, bang.
Yeah, right. I understand. Well, I've got my biggest Eras challenge right now. I have a really good friend who's going to vote for Trump. And we have decided not to abandon each other. You know, we talk and
Oh, good.
we're really, you know, we try to make jokes about it and everything. And I know I'm trying to figure out on my own what's going on with her and not say anything. So I think a lot of it's fear. I think that she's got a lot of fear because when we talk about it, her big thing is she is afraid of just the things that he is afraid of, you know, that we're going to become too integrated and things like that. But anyway, it's really hard with all that Eris not to just want to, you know, swat her.
What do you feel like when you see somebody being treated unfairly?
Oh, it's horrible. I can't tolerate it. I really
Yeah.
can't tolerate it.
Yeah.
It's horrible for me.
Okay, well, I think this was a good evening.
Thank you
I
for
think
letting me
you-
talk. Thank
Yeah,
you.
well, you're welcome. And I'm sorry some of you don't have much angularity. It's no big deal. It's not a flaw in the chart, but it definitely teaches you when you're looking at charts, look for that right away. Look for that right away. And it's like it's on fire.
Yeah.
Okay, y'all.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Rick.
Thank you.
Very
Thank
educated
you.
and
Thank
all
you, Rick.
Anybody in North Carolina?
Yes, pray for North Carolina.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh my
she's
God.
in Georgia. Is
I
it?
just heard from a friend who's in North Carolina. She was only able to share a text message yesterday, but today, and they've been dealing with power from propane and kerosene generators. So she only had enough juice to share text messages. Today, the electric came back, and she was excited so much she was going to take a shower first and then a bath.
Oh, yeah, right.
Take a shower and a bath at the same time.
Gosh.
Okay.
Hot water.
Well,
Again,
everybody, thank you for a good evening.
Thank
Love
you.
y'all.
Thank you, Rick.
thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Many
Bye.
blessings and love you all.
Christine, we're so glad you joined in with us.
Thank you.
Yes.
Good night, everybody.
Love
Good
you.
night.
Take
Night,
care.
everyone. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.